This is Greg Roulette, and right now I am joined by best-selling author and financial architect Brad Kregger. Brad, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Greg. It's a pleasure being here in New York.
It is a great pleasure being here in New York, just around the corner from Wall Street. A lot happening behind us. We got the band behind us this morning, and but we're here to talk about something really, really important, and that is the financial state of the people right now. And they're in a lot of trouble. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of miseducation out there. That's what we're going to talk about here today. But before we dig into that, I mean, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing out in California.
Well, I appreciate you having me here. A little bit about myself. I followed my father into financial services, followed his footsteps, and for the last 23 years I've been doing true comprehensive wealth management. And for the last 15 or so, I've been an independent financial advisor, managing my own firm. And this is a great song, by the way.
It's a great song,
Yes, it is. Essentially, what's exciting about what we're doing right now is we're changing. We're fundamentally changing how financial services are delivered for the business owner, but in the retirement, health plans, and other employee benefits.
Yeah, well, let's talk about what that really means. So what are some of the issues that business owners are having as they look at their finances, and they look at retirement? What are some of the biggest issues that they face today?
Well, gosh, where do you start?
There's probably a laundry list, right?
Yeah, it's a big one. I mean, the most pressing thing that we see is that business owners today are spending too much time and money managing their employee benefits.
Right.
And this money can be redirected into other resources, like growing their business.
Right.
And because of that, what's going on is they're just not getting more for what they're spending.
Right.
And unfortunately, this leaves their plan. The majority of these plans out there are not in compliance with the IRS and the Department of Labor rules.
Okay.
And in 2015 alone, it's like 70% of the plans audited by the Department of Labor were subject to monetary penalties and other corrective actions. And on average, the business owner spent $110,000 in plan remuneration alone, and this ignored all the time wasted and the money spent on attorneys and accountants. So what we're doing differently is we're taking over from on the majority of plans for no more than what they're spending on their current brokers.
Right.
And we become their benefits functional fiduciary, or BFF.
Okay.
And as the BFF, we essentially are delivering on the vital fiduciary functions of the plan. Essentially, Greg, what we are allowing, or what we're doing for the business owners, giving back their employee time, which can be used for, to redirect it in those resources into, more productive uses like growing the business. And I'll ask you, what business owner doesn't want to get more production out of their employees or get more value for the money they're spending?
Yeah, we want all of that as a business owner. So I want to talk about this concept of the BFF, and you got a book with you here today. Who's your BFF? And so what I love about this is, I think on the case of an entrepreneur or a business owner, it's education. That they aren't even aware that some of these options and some of the things that you're talking about here are even available to them. So how do they even start the educational process, and how do you help them to understand, hey, there is a better way. There's a better way to get more for what you're paying.
Right. Well, in my new book, Who is your BFF, or Who's your BFF? We detail. It's basically how a benefits functional fiduciary can improve your plan as well as save you money at the same time. And in that, we detail implementation of your fiduciary your fiduciary statement of plan management.
Okay.
We also have these 3 handy checklists that we produced along with the book.
Nice.
One on each for a retirement plan, a health plan, and other employee benefits.
Great.
And essentially, business owners just don't know what they aren't getting.
Right.
There's just, it's unfortunate that the current advisors, they do little more than the minimum to just cash the check.
Right.
It's sad, but that's the state of the affairs today.
Yeah. So let's talk about one of the business owners maybe that you've helped through the process, where they've come in, you've educated them, and they've learned the whole BFF process and program, and now they are saving money. They're getting more production out of their employees, and they're also setting themselves up for retirement. I'm sure you got some great stories of businesses that you've helped over the years.
It's interesting, that how much better things can be I mean, unfortunately, too many business owners are stuck in that. Well, here's the way I've been doing it, and
Right.
you know, and I've got my broker, and I'm set in my ways, and you know, I got my set of advisors, and I should just stick with it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, ideas or new concepts are the foundation of growth, and
Right.
unfortunately, too many business owners don't go after that. I mean, just a typical business owner. I mean, we're giving them. I mean, often when they have 1 or 2 or 3 staff members handling their plan and other benefits, I mean, we give them all that time back.
Yeah.
And just think of how much more you can do with 1, 2, 3, or more employees back. I mean, we
Right.
take over all of that, all the day-to-day functions
Yeah.
of the plans.
Brad, I know that you have a great story about how you got into the industry. I know you followed your father into the industry, but what's kind of your own story about why this is so important for you?
Well, as you mentioned, my father was in financial services before me, but he focused only on investments.
Yeah.
And because of that, he really didn't get all of the financial planning done.
Right.
And unfortunately, when he was 51, he was forced to retire with Parkinson's. And to make a long story short, my mom lost everything because of taking care of my father.
Right.
And had any one of my mother's advisors that were helping her at the time, got involved and cared enough to do more than just their job or what
Yeah.
was required, things would have been very, very different for my mom. So when I got into financial services, I vowed that, I vowed that I would leave no financial stone unturned. I would not let what happened to my mother happen to others. And I recently turned 50, and I visited Disney World with my kids.
It's a fun thing to do at 50, right?
Oh, it was a great time. And, I realized just how young my dad was when he got sick, but
Right.
more importantly, that my mom lost more than just money. My mother and father truly lost what was supposed to be the best years of their lives.
Right.
And that's what drives me, that's what gives me the passion to go above and beyond and to really push the envelope for my clients.
So important. And again, we're here in Times Square. We got Wall Street around the corner. So a great place to talk about investing and how investing's changed over the years. If you could kind of turn back the clock to the startup version of yourself when you were just getting started, well, what's one piece of advice that you would give to yourself back then that could help our viewers out today?
That's a great question. If I were to turn back time, I would probably tell myself to write that book a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Back in 2004, I obtained my AIFA, which is an accredited investment fiduciary analyst designation.
Yeah.
And back then, fiduciary compliance was important, but nowhere near as important it is today.
Right.
I mean, today more than ever, it's important to have a knowledgeable professional on your team.
Right.
And so that would be the most pertinent advice.
Get the information out sooner, yeah.
Yeah, and not be afraid to just step out and just speak your mind.
Right.
And say, hey, wait a minute, this we can do better as an industry.
Yeah. Now, if someone wanted to get a copy of the book, maybe read one of the papers you put together, or just get this whole process started, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you and take that next step?
That's a great question. They can go to my main website, tfrgroup.com, and find a link to that website as well.
I love that wealth of information. You really helped the business owners here watching today to help. And I hope they take advantage of getting the book, getting those resources, and really helping them to understand. So thanks so much for joining us today on Wall Street Today.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Definitely. And we'll be back in just a few minutes with more Wall Street Today.